evening, folks. Obviously, quite a bit has happened since we last put up our video of the emergency action messages. The Israelis did get struck or attacked by Iran yesterday, and this particular video, we're going to go into a little bit more detail about what took place and what we expect to see happening in the future.
Yesterday, Israel killed Iranian Brigadier General Mohammad Reza Zahidi. He was the Muslim country's point man on the Hamas's October 7 assault on Israel, a report said Sunday. This is the first public admission that Iran had a role on what occurred that horrific day. Zahidi, an Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps leader, was among 7 Iranian regime members killed in the April 1 Israel airstrike that hit the Iranian embassy in Damascus.
All right, so what we know is Iran launched a massive aerial attack on Israel 2 weeks after a suspected Israeli strike on its consulate in Syria. This marks the first ever direct attack by Iran on Israeli territory from Iranian soil. Iran called the attack Operation True Promise, and they did in fact keep their promise. The attack began on Saturday night around 2000 hours GMT. It lasted approximately 5 hours, according to U.S. officials. During the attack, explosions were heard in cities across Israel, including Tel Aviv. The explosions were also heard in Jerusalem, and air raid sirens sounded in more than 720 locations as Israeli forces sought to shoot down the projectiles. Israel's chief military spokesman, Daniel Hagari, said Iran's attack involved more than 120 ballistic missiles, 170 drones, and more than 30 cruise missiles, according to a report by Associated Press news agency. The Israeli military also said that the vast majority of projectiles were intercepted outside the country's borders with help from the United States, the United Kingdom, and France. Jordan also shot down some of the missiles aimed at Israel as they were flying through Jordanian airspace. Israel's military added that a small number of hits were identified in a base located in southern Israel. Minor damage occurred to the infrastructure. 3 missiles, I believe, crunching the numbers. A 7-year-old girl was severely injured by missile fragments, while other patients sustained minor injuries and some were treated for anxiety. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said on Saturday that the U.S. also intercepted dozens of missiles and drones launched at Israel from Iraq, Syria, and Yemen.
The Iranian Armed Forces Chief of Staff Major General Mohammad Bagheri told state TV that if Israel retaliates, Iran's response would be much larger than the overnight bombardment, according to a Reuters report. Iran also warned Washington that backing Israeli retaliation would lead to the targeting of U.S. bases. Earlier, Iran's mission to the UN cited the UN Charter provision for self-defense under Article 51 and said that the country considered the matter concluded. Its permanent mission at the United Nations said on X. However, should the Israeli regime make another mistake, Iran's response would be considerably more severe. It is a conflict between Iran and the rogue Israeli regime, from which the U.S. must stay away.
So what does all of this really mean? The key was that Israel struck an Iranian embassy. Some would argue it was a consulate. This is normally a no-no in any international circle. The Israelis could have picked a better time and a better place, but they insisted on going forward with this one. This essentially forced the Iranians to react for fear of losing face as they attempt to show the Muslim world that they are the leaders. Not acting would have also been an indicator that the theocracy was weak in the face of the Jewish people, which could fuel yet another uprising by the people in Iran. The American president publicly distanced himself from Israel to appease Iranians and give them a soundbite for their audience. Yet we all know, especially given this is an election year, that Biden had no choice but to act or risk losing many Jewish American votes and support. What happens now? In terms of damage, nothing really did happen to Israel, and a public mass response would be the worst thing they could do right now. Iran thinks it's all done. No one was killed. It would be counterproductive to have an obvious public and overwhelming response. It'd be even worse if there were mass casualties in the civilian populace. Should Israel do anything, their covert activities and actions, which are deniable, would be best. Any public and obvious action would force the Iranians' hand and risk an escalation that could very well risk a nuclear exchange. But some would argue the Iranians do not have nukes. I'll go on record right now to say that the Iranians actually do. All I'm going to say is sliding timelines would be your clue as to whether or not the Iranians actually have nukes or somebody's been lying the entire time. I'm going to say that they do have nuclear capability already, and that could be another discussion. The Israelis have already approved that action can be taken, but up until now, I have not been privy to any indication as to what that might be. Now we wait. As far as U.S. people are considered, we already know from previous discussions that the order was given for elements to begin their attacks on American soil. We believe that this has already started and some of the plots have already been foiled. We strongly believe that these attacks will continue and escalate to the point that they cannot be ignored or covered up. The key concern is that the Middle East, despite assurances, would all prefer that there was no Israel. In order for any Middle Eastern nation to have a successful campaign against Israel, the United States must be removed from the equation. This could be as simple as covert and not so covert intelligence collection sites and war material storage sites in the Middle East being destroyed to a complicated plot taking America to its knees and out of the global game for a few years. I believe that this would likely be some version of the latter scenario. This is all that we have for this evening. We'll get back to you as soon as we can if we get any information that would lead us to a subsequent broadcast. God bless you all from the Patriot Gear Texas team.